TruckDriver101.com. I respond to a comment here from Werner Enterprises. Guy said I was a recruiter. I'm not a recruiter for Werner Enterprises. I haven't worked at Werner in years now. 2 years coming up on. Secondly, he says Warner's a horrible company. Warner's not a horrible company. It depends on how much value you have. If you don't have a lot of value, then it is. If you don't have a network of people in the office looking out for you, then yeah, you're going to have a hard time. But that's at every company, everywhere you go, regardless of whether it's in trucking or accounting. The people with the better connections, the better friends, the better influences, and the ability to talk and understand people, the guys with guts and knowledge and increase their knowledge, you got to understand. When I was making money at Warner, I went from single driver to trainer. Okay, from trainer to on the number one driver on a valuable account. And yeah, I was a go-to driver. When I would look at the bottom of messages on my my dispatcher would send us messages, I was always requested to go on there. That means the manager who was running our account said, I know Big Ken can get it there on time. I know Big Ken can do things. We had rules on our account that you can only take 3 days off. I take 4 and 5 because I stayed out for 8 weeks and would go home I was supposed to go home for 2 days, even though I was out for 8 weeks. My dispatcher would give me extra days towards the holiday. Then towards, like, let's say just before Thanksgiving, probably around October, I would work probably 2 months, 2.5 months to the last 2 weeks of Christmas and go out and do more work than 90% of the drivers on the same dedicated account. That was General Mills. You do that kind of stuff, you get favor. Okay? You don't do that kind of stuff, you don't get favor. So tell me, are you a guy creating favor? Or are you a guy sitting around, saying, as soon as the stove gives me some heat, I'll put some wood in it? You looked at this not from the perspective of your lack of research of your area, which I wrote a book about that, the link's down below, and the lack of understanding what company you work for and how to create connections and relationships. That's not Werner Enterprises' fault. That's your fault. The other part is, no company loves you. I want to cover that again. A company, all companies, and government is just like a prostitute. Okay? She giving you sex, she giving her money. She doesn't love you. Okay? All right? Let's get that straight. But no company loves you. They're all in the same game. Think about it. I don't care whether you work for Ford, GM, or Chrysler. If a company down the street was paying you an astronomical amount of money, you would leave that company in a second. That's just the way it is. If you say it like Warner owed you something. If down the street Joe Blow Trucking was paying you $99 a mile, you leave. You wouldn't show that loyalty. So you don't care about Warner. Why should they care about you? You work there because they're willing to take the risk that you're going to flip over a truck. And they are working you because they want to make money and get you out there hauling that freight. And there's a deal that you're going to do it as cheap as possible. Now, your job at the company is to increase your value to Warner so they need you more and make this the best relationship you can so you can get as much money as you can. That's how it works. Right? It's not based on that. Did you really think all the drivers at Warner are all underpaid? Didn't you ever stop and just ask yourself, just ask at a truck stop, how come this guy at Warner is making more and this guy at Warner is making less? I guarantee you it's because the other guy at Warner has better connections or is doing something that they need done. You probably sitting on general freight. You might not be training. Now, I've said it a million times. If you go to a training company, expect to train. You're not going to train, you're not valuable. You're not going to get on a dedicated account, you're not valuable. You're not going to go out and do the things other people won't do, you're not valuable. Sorry, that's how the rules of the world work. Okay? So that's it, guys. TruckDriver101.com. But that's the real deal about creating value at a company and the truth about all companies, including Werner Enterprises. Talk to you guys later. And that goes for Snyder, Swift, everywhere. If you don't create value, nobody's going to give you a buck.